Hello, happiness heroes. I am so glad you are here. Welcome to day 3 of the No BS Boundary Bootcamp. And today is super exciting because today I am giving my entire No BS boundary framework. So you're going to be able to make decisions in the moment that are going to move you closer and closer to your true self. Yay. All right, I have a presentation for you. So let me share my screen. Ta-da. All right, so on day 1, we learned that our mind creates programs based on all of the social information that it takes in throughout our lifetime, and it ends up making us deviate from our true self because our mind wants to present what it thinks is a more acceptable version of you. And so you end up as a grown-up, constantly trying to be good enough and loved and accepted. But then we have our true self just begging to be heard. And this causes a war inside of us. And that leads to anxiety and depression and burnout and major health problems, even. And so our goal with our no BS boundaries is to let go of all of that old programming that's causing us to not be able to show up authentically. And we want to move us closer to our true self. Because when we get closer to our true self, the anxiety that we feel because of the conflict between the different parts of ourselves, it starts to melt away. And then magic happens because we start having more energy. We become happier. We become like centered and grounded and confident because we know who we are and what we stand for. So our first task in moving along this path is to expose these old programs, figure out what they even are because they're entirely subconscious, and start noticing the mind BS that our mind screams at us that goes along with it to try to keep us running these programs. And so we want to know what is real, what is our true self, and what is actually BS. And then once we find the BS, we're going to kick it to the curb. Okay. And we started doing that on Wednesday. And so once we're done all that, we can start to figure out what we really care about without all of that cloud of BS telling us what should matter to us. We can tap into our true self, our true identity, who we are under all of these layers of programming, and then uncover what actually matters to us, not just what our mind BS thinks should matter to us. So we're going to ask ourselves questions like, what does your dream life actually look like? And what values do you want to live by? And so that gives us our destination, like the point on the map where we can actually be our true selves. All right. So how do we get there? How do we get from our programmed version of ourselves back to who we were meant to be? Well, obvious answer, we build a bridge, right? But how do we do that? All right, so the first thing you need to do is anchor post. You need anchor posts for your bridge. These posts that are right here, holding the bridge to each side. And that is your values. Your values are something solid that can be the foundation for your bridge. And so everything that we do needs to be anchored in that solid foundation. So we need to be very clear on what your values actually are. And then once we've got those anchor posts in, we can start attaching a rope between one side and the other side. And that means tapping into your inner wisdom, learning how to befriend your feelings, how to process your emotions in a way that's actually healthy and it's not going to leave you in like a heap of past trauma. And when you can do that, now you've got this like solid tether to your destination. And we did a little bit of this yesterday as we made empowered choices and tapped into our inner wisdom to decide which choice to make. All right, and finally, once you have your programs exposed and your destination set and your ropes attached, guided by your values, you're ready to set the planks in your bridge and start moving towards your best life. And that is what the boundaries do for us. They are our action steps that move us across the bridge. And so that's what we're going to do today. All right. So today is Boundaries with Benefits Day. What is the side benefit of no BS boundaries? What makes the process boundaries with benefits? The benefit is finding yourself. Because with every action that you take in this process that you started like Wednesday, and started progressing towards where you are today, you step closer and closer to who you really are. And so not only are you going to be able to juggle your busy life like a pro and create balance in your life, while you are doing all of that, you are also figuring out who you are and moving closer and closer to that version of you with every single empowered choice that you make. All right. Now, if you have tried setting boundaries in the past, but your mind BS was still running the show and you weren't really sure of your values, because it can be like really hard to distinguish what is actually true inside your body and what are you think are your values but are actually programs. Like, for example, if you're kind to everyone, is that because that's who you are, or is that because who your programs tells you should be? It's not that easy to discern. And if you haven't connected to your inner wisdom, that's why your boundary efforts aren't working, and why life balance is impossible, and why so many of us are on the verge of burning out, trying to keep up with all of these programs. And that's why I've given up in the past. I felt like my efforts weren't working. That's why I yo-yoed, because different parts of me were pulling me in different directions. All right. So that's what we're going to fix today. And I've got more great news. You already started. Yay. Yesterday, you started busting through that mind BS, tapping into who you really are and making choices that are in alignment with that. You did that by changing your shoulds to your coulds and taking back your power from those programs that we created in adolescence, and started making choices as a freaking grown-up that actually feel good to us. And so I bet that you didn't even know you had done all that with just your trusty little sidekick, Captain Could, but you did. All right. So let me tell you about James. James was working a job that he didn't like, with a boss who was mean and frankly abusive to his employees. But James had great work ethic, and he genuinely cared about the people that he was helping, like the clients of the company and his coworkers. But being in that environment every single day was awful for him, and he struggled. And if you think about it in terms of what we just learned, he had his true self saying, this is wrong, this goes against my values. And his program self saying, it's not your business, stay quiet, don't get fired, you need this job to support your family. Anyone on this call feel this? Right? Okay. And of course, one of the big programs at work is be professional. What do you think be professional means in our program self? Because for most of us, that means like calm detachment to everything happening, never show emotion, put your head down and get it done. So what happens when we're living a programmed life that is separate from our true self? We learned that today. Anxiety, overwhelm, feeling on edge, low energy, depression, and burnout. Okay, toxic, very toxic. And for James, he was keeping a lid on his emotions all day long. And then when he went home, he had to keep that lid on, right? He had no outlet. And so he numbed. And his version of numbing was TV and video games. And he found himself cranky. And he came to me and he said, Christina, I am angry all the time. Little things set me off, like little things that really shouldn't make me angry. And I get mad at my wife all the time for tiny little things. But I try to make myself feel better. I try to go out with my friends, but I get mad at my friends when they make like stupid, ignorant comments. And I don't know what to do. I hate my life. I'm bored, but I don't know what to do when I get home, because I can't seem to manage anything other than just watching TV. Like, I have no energy left. And then I get down on myself for watching TV and not doing something that's going to be productive or something that I like to do. And so I'm like, yeah, James, I hear you. So James started working with me and he uncovered some very deep old programming that told him that anger is bad and therefore he is bad if he shows anger. Programming that told him that he had to put aside his passions in favor of a real job. And programming that says he cannot speak his mind because it will end badly. How many of us have that program, right? Stay quiet. Don't show up. Don't let anyone see you. Don't put your foot in your mouth. So he kept silent and he felt like he was about to explode. Okay. So after we uncovered the old programming that was holding him back, he started to explore where he wanted to go, what really mattered to him, and who really mattered to him, and what would it actually mean to live his best life. And he learned how to honor his emotions and listen to the messages that his anger was trying to tell him. That's building his bridge. And he learned to build boundaries to protect what he discovered truly matters. And he showed up for himself. He came to every meeting. He dug into himself with like a truly humbling amount of determination. And so he started at a place where he was dealing with depression, anger, and broken relationships and the threat of divorce. And I just had a chat with him not too long ago, and he is so happy in his life right now. He says that he still gets those impulses and triggers that make him rage, but now his like emotional pot has so much more space in it, so it doesn't overflow because he's not like holding it in anymore. And his relationship with his wife has changed. They communicate better, and he doesn't snap at her anymore. And he also told me that he's experimenting with his creative pursuits again. Yay. And so he's doing that in the evening instead of numbing. And he's got himself a new job. And he never believed that he would ever get a new job. And so he felt like he was stuck. So I am so proud of how far he's come. But the biggest change for him is his relationship with himself. He says, I'm finally cutting myself some slack and listening to my intuition. I have actually stopped seeing some friends that I realize completely drain me, and instead I'm choosing activities that fill me up. I'm even trying a new productivity app to help with my ADHD, and it's really helping me stay organized. I never would have tried it before because I didn't believe that anything would help me. And he says, maybe I didn't believe I was good enough to be helped, but I am. I am so much happier now. And this makes me emotional. And this is why I do this, because I want each and every one of you to have this experience, to jump into your best life and live how you were meant to live. So let's start building our bridge. So yesterday, you started changing your shoulds to coulds. And we took all of the mind BS from our old programs that tells us that we should be doing in order to be good enough, and we turn them into empowered choices by shifting them into coulds. And then choosing, making that empowered choice to put our energy into the one could, the one choice that felt best for you, the one that's most aligned with your true self. That's what tapping into your inner wisdom means. And so that works beautifully for simple situations where we can tap into our inner wisdom and figure out what to do by just what feels right. Okay, so great. But life is not always simple. So when life gets complicated, we are going to use a no BS boundary framework to help us decide what to do in any moment. So in order to make sure that we are actually moving in the right direction, and the right direction is towards our true self, right? Every step that we need to take needs to be anchored in our unique personal values. Remember our posts in our bridge? And so the framework itself is a reminder with the acronym values. All right. And to illustrate how, I'm going to show you an image of the framework in a second, but first I just have something to say. I want to illustrate how each step works, okay? And I'm going to do that by walking you a real life example that I came across with my friend. And so we were talking, and she was at a complete loss as to what to do with her kids and their laundry, right? Like this is a simple home situation that we all encounter. So her kids are 17 and 15, and every week she would wash and fold their laundry and put it at the top of the stairs. Like, wow, that is actually very nice of her. And the expectation, which was very reasonable, was that they would then put it away. right? And then maybe even bring their dirty laundry down to the laundry room at the end of the week. And so she was telling me about how they never did that. They just like picked out of their basket at the top of the stairs during the week. And then they went to their dad's house at the end of the week and their picked over basket was still there. And so she would put the rest of the clothes away, grab their laundry off their floor, wash and fold their laundry, and the process would start again. She's like a freaking saint, but she wasn't happy doing that. She didn't want to keep doing that. She was mad. And she said that the only time that the kids would actually do it, actually follow through, was when she threw a big fit. All right. So can you see the programming here? Remember on Wednesday, we uncovered our programming. In order to be a good parent, I should. So I should what? Can you come up with anything there? Make sure that they have clean laundry. Make their day easier. Show them that they are loved by doing things for them. Being a good parent means taking care of them, making their life like perfect. And so you can see that there's some conflicting programming here too, right? Because probably at the same time, there's something like, in order to be a good mom, I should be raising independent humans who are going to be able to take care of themselves, right? And so those are like some of the programs that she's running, but there's also this authentic self stuff, right? That conflict in there too. Like she feels that she deserves the respect of the kids that she does so much for. And what they're doing feels kind of disrespectful. And so she's in that place of dissonance where her true self is saying, hey, I'm here. I deserve respect. And her mind BS is saying, oh, just be nice to them. Don't rock the boat. Maybe a little bit of like, you want your house to be more appealing than dad's house, right? Gosh, it's tough. And so in terms of energy, can you see how this dissonance and all of this conflict inside of her is emptying her cup and making her feel exhausted? Because for sure, this is not the only issue where she's conflicted, and she's got all of this going on inside of her. Oh, you guys came up with some good stuff in there. Thank you. I didn't even have the chat open. Now it's open. So go nuts on there. All right. So I've been in that place of dissonance. Have you? Where you've got all of this conflict inside of you and it doesn't feel good. And so the reason that so many boundary attempts fail is because we don't have that clarity on our values. We have too many things pulling us in all these different directions. We have different programs pulling us in different directions. We have our true self pulling us in a different direction. And so how can we know what to anchor our decisions in? So we need those anchor posts if we are going to be able to connect our actions to our destination. So you might remember on day one, we learned the technique to tap into your wishes or into your values, which is to use wishes. And what do we need to do in order to be good? That was our old programs. And what do we wish we could do? That was our true self. And so we can talk about, or we can tap into our true self just by asking ourselves, what do we wish we could do? And so this is what I did with my friend. I asked her what she wished would happen. And she says, well, I wish they would just put their laundry away. Okay, yeah, that's a great start, but we need to go deeper, right? That's the surface level. And so to go deeper, we're going to ask ourselves why. And so I asked her, why does it matter that they put their laundry away? And she said, well, because I do a lot for them and they should be pitching in too. Okay, good. Why does that matter? Well, they need to be aware of what other people are doing for them. So you can see how the emotions are rising. That means we're getting closer. So why does that matter? And at this point, she put her arms up in the air and she said, because they're going to be husbands one day and I don't want them treating their partner like this. Aha, there we are. That is her value, loud and clear. Remember that we're learning to befriend and understand our emotions. That's one way that we tap into our inner wisdom, right? That's a big part of the rope of our bridge. So this big emotion is her true self busting free, and it's freaking beautiful. Okay. So now we have gone from this conflicting programming about what makes a good mom to the thing that she cares about most, which is raising children who treat their partners with respect. Those are the anchor posts that are going to help her to make her next decision. So now what? How do we turn this into boundaries? All right, now we're ready for our framework. And so I'm going to share my screen again. There we go. And I love a framework. I just love them because it's something that I can follow over and over and over again to stay on my path. I never have to question it. I just follow the framework, do a little journaling, and I know exactly what to do. And so I made a framework for maintaining your no BS boundaries when things get tough, because it's one thing to set them and it's a whole nother thing to follow through and maintain them, right? So what do we want all of our decisions to be anchored in? Values. Boom. So there is the acronym for our framework. And so this is actually in your workbook, if you have your workbook with you. And there's a space to add notes in each step if you want to. And so I'm going to show you how it works, but I want to encourage you to be gentle with yourself if you find it hard to go through this at first, because all of the steps that I talked about in the beginning, they take time. And in my program, The Bridge to Your Best Life, they actually take 4 months. And so we do all of that, the tapping into your programs, kicking them to the curb, figuring out your destination, tapping into your inner wisdom. And that takes 4 months before we even teach this framework in month 5 of the 6-month program. So think about, if you can make this much progress in 3 days, imagine how far you can go in 4 months. All right, so step 1 is to anchor into your values. So let's continue with my friend's situation with the laundry and see if we can figure out where she should put her energy, because that's what we learned, right? Boundaries are all about energy. And so you can see at the end of this framework, that's what it culminates in: energy. Where am I going to put my energy? And that is the whole point of this decision-making framework. All right, so here we go. Let's move over to values. So V obviously stands for values. Go back to your values every single time. That has to be your first step. This is your true self talking. And this is the part that matters most. And so I've already talked about values, so I'm not going to harp on it anymore. But we noticed that after a bit of probing, my friend uncovered what matters most to her. And it's not what she thought it was. Right? What matters most to her ended up being raising children who will treat their partners with respect. Like, it's not even about laundry, which she thought was surprising. Okay, so she's figured out her values, her anchor post. The next step is A for aligned action. What action do I need to take in order to be true to my values that I just uncovered? And so this is where the shoulds to coulds come in that we learned yesterday. And so she brainstormed her coulds here. And so she came up with, I could let them just keep doing what they're doing. I could do nothing, right? That's always an option. I could lay out my expectations and have a discussion with them on why the expectations are there. Yep, that's an option. She said I could yell and scream and make sure they comply. Yep. I could develop a plan to help them to follow through. Yeah, okay. So these are all great coulds. And when she felt into these, she pretty much immediately eliminated the yell and scream, and then also the keep the status quo. She didn't want either of those ones. And so she was at a point where she knows what she wants. She knows what she wants to do and what the aligned action actually is. But she felt like, she's like, Christina, I've already done this. I have already asked them to do it and they're not doing it. So what is the point of asking them again? All right. So we're stuck. Now we're stuck in this place. And you can see that she's kind of got a high emotion around the stuckness, right? She doesn't want to be stuck anymore. And you can see how she's going around in circles about it because she wants them to do it. And she has taken some action, but she hasn't gotten the results, which is leading her to frustration and resentment and questioning of her, like her mothering. So think about, have you ever done that? Have you ever decided on an action and taken that brave action, been brave enough to actually do it, and then the people still trample all over your boundaries? You still don't get the results that you're hoping for. So that's what this framework is for. It's to move you into a place where you can actually take an action that is going to get you the results that you're looking for. All right, so let's keep going. If we're in this place, oh, here's an important thing. If you're in this place and you know exactly what you could do, what choice to make, and it feels good to go do it, good. You're done. Like, for those of you who speak French, I think everybody on here speaks French. Va, va, c'est vas-y. Alors, go ahead, do your action. Yeah. And you're done with the framework. You don't need to do anything else. But if you're in this place of being stuck, then that's where you need to continue on with the framework. All right, so the next one is L, and L stands for let go. What do we need to let go of in order to do our aligned action? We are channeling our inner Elsa here. And so yesterday we talked about that. In order to take back our power to choose, you need to let go of all of the other choices, because Captain Could can only be in one place. But we also need to let go of the programming that's telling us that don't take that choice. It's a danger, or it's not going to work, or all of the BS that comes in with it. And that can be really hard, because your BS is going to jump in with so many reasons why you can't or shouldn't let go. And just like everything else, it's going to take commitment and practice. So what does she need to let go of? What about the programming that makes her a good mother? Like letting go of the idea that doing everything for her kids and paving this beautiful, smooth path for them makes her a good mother. So those are her words, her programs. And there's some fear here too, right? She needs to let go of the fear that her kids are going to reject her and like move into their dad's house if she just asks them to do their chores. And that's a tough one to let go of. She needs to let go of the fear that she's disappointing her kids by holding them accountable and not being the soft, martyr that her program tells her that she should be. And then she needs to let go of the resistance that she's already tried it before, so that she can get back into that problem-solving mode and actually take some action. And sometimes just writing this out, seeing it on paper, helps you to bring this subconscious programming to the front so you can decide if you want to let it go. And sometimes it's still really hard. So the next step is going to be critical to that. So the next step is you untangle the truth. And so this is the step where we take all of the BS that our minds throw at us and untangle that to determine what is actually true. So in figuring out what to let go of, we uncovered a lot of mind BS that is keeping her stuck and holding her back. So her old programming is telling her that good moms are soft and compliant, and that she's going to be rejected by her kids if she's tough on them, and that she'd already tried everything and it's not working. So, oh, well, we better just default to these old programs and just keep doing it because that is way safer than rocking the boat. Gosh, our mind BS is powerful. They know exactly how to keep us running these programs. It's so good at telling stories that it thinks is going to keep us safe. But are those stories true? And if not, what is the truth? Okay. So I asked her that, what do good moms do? And the truth is that good moms prepare their kids for the real world. And the real world is not soft and having everything paved for you. The real world has responsibilities, right? And so the truth is that good moms model these expectations for their children and then allow the kids to show their greatness by following through on these responsibilities. And so by allowing her kids to ignore the request and shoving down her feelings, she realized that she was actually creating norms and expectations, which, by the way, is programming for her kids, that about like what a woman's role is in the household. Oh my gosh. So the truth is that she is creating norms and expectations about what a woman's role is in the household. So what norms and expectations does she want to create? That's up to her. And so another truth is that her kids love her and she is a great mom and she is not going to lose her kids over laundry. All right. And another truth is that she has enough respect for them to believe that they are actually capable of following through. Remember, they're 17 and 15, right? So she has to believe they're capable. And then the last one is, she's tried this already. The truth is that she was actually very unclear and very inconsistent. So her words say one thing, her words say put your laundry away, and her actions say another thing, right? Because she hasn't followed through. And so the kids know that if they just leave the laundry there, the magical laundry fairy mom is going to take care of it and put it back up there by the end of the week. All right. So when we find our truths, our body's going to tell us. Like for me, there's always a part of me screaming at the back of my head, like freaking right, because my body is loud and empowering. Everybody has a different voice there, but that's how I know that I've hit on a truth. My body goes, yeah. And it's interesting because my true self, the yeah part of me, is so much nicer than my mind BS. So I want to tap into her a whole lot more. Thank you very much. And have my inner cheerleader. All right. So sinking into these truths, the real truths and not the BS, is going to help us to have the courage to take the aligned action that we knew we should take at the beginning. Which brings us to the last step, which is the most important and the one that boundaries are all about, which is energy. So the decision is, okay, so given all of this, where am I going to put my energy? And so your energy should always go into two things and two things only, because we're choosing to let go of everything else, right? So thing one is going to be your chosen action, the action that you want to take. And so for my friend, that means her energy is going to go into, having a conversation with her kids about the expectations and how we treat each other and, creating a plan to follow through. And she can create the plan with her kids, or she can create the plan on her own. Like what's going to happen if they don't follow through, so that she's got that in her back pocket. And she started brainstorming things like maybe she wants to create a schedule. Anything that brings clarity to that is going to be great, so that she can be clear on her expectations. Like maybe the very first thing that they do when they get over is to move the basket into their bedrooms, just something like that, that's going to create these new expectations and require them to follow through. And she's going to create a plan of how to remind them, how to reward them with the relationship when they do follow through, because her value is all about raising children who treat their partners with respect. And since she's anchored in that, she realizes now through the truth that she is the model of that, she is going to treat them with respect and then expect them to do it right back. And so she's creating these new norms in her household, which is beautiful. All right, so the second part is always to celebrate you. Okay, celebrate your courage. Your energy needs to go back into you. Following through on that aligned action, that can be freaking hard. And battling your old programming can be freaking hard. And the best way to solidify like those new neural pathways, because yes, we are rewiring our brain in setting these boundaries. The best way to solidify a neural pathway is to tie positive emotion to it. And that is going to solidify that new way of being. And so in your last step, we need to be sure to put our energy into celebrating ourselves, because we are taking brave steps, which take work, into living our best life. All right, that's enough PowerPoint. So how does that feel? How does that framework feel to you? By strategically choosing to put your energy into what truly matters to you and recognizing that it could be completely different to what truly matters for the next person. And that's irrelevant, because it's your values that you're anchoring in. And in doing that, you're getting closer and closer to your true self. So boundaries with benefits. Yes, please. So many benefits of getting closer to your true self. Like we talked about earlier, like that feeling of happiness and fulfillment and more energy and a sense of meaning or purpose because you're finally living authentically. And these no BS boundaries are helping you to make decisions that end up allowing you to live out your purpose because you're tapped into your inner wisdom by uncovering what you truly care about. So, if you leave things as they are, if you don't get rid of these programs that are keeping you from accessing your true self, no matter what you try and no matter how hard you work, you're not going to get the results that you're hoping for because this is the missing piece and what is holding so many of us back from living that life that we deserve. And once you have the skills to shed your old programs and tap into that inner wisdom and set no BS boundaries in alignment with your true self, you become a bridge builder who can consistently improve your life as you move forward, giving your kids and your spouse and yourself that gift of a blissfully happy you. And you can pass along those bridge building skills right to your kids so that they can live their happiest lives too. Because what kind of life do you want for your kids? I know I want my kids to know themselves. I want them to trust themselves. And I want them to let happiness dictate their choices. And like desperately, I want them to have life balance, which is something I never had growing up as a very, very programmed individual. I want them to have that balance as they become parents themselves, if they choose that for themselves. And I want them to know how to be able to fill their own cups and also take care of their responsibilities. I never want them to believe that they have to sacrifice themselves, like I believed for a long time, in order to be a good parent. I really thought that I had to put all of my needs aside and focus only on them. And that's what made me a good parent. And that's what also made me burn out. And so I want to show my kids that living your happiest life is the best gift that you could ever give them. I want to give them that gift, I really hope that they pass that on to their kids and that the work that we do here right now in setting these no BS boundaries ripples down to so many future generations. Because that's what I want for you, to live your happiest life and ripple all that amazingness down to your kids and your grandkids. Like, how amazing would that be? So Bridge to Your Best Life is now open for enrollment with a start date of May 16th. And what this program does is it actually takes you through the steps that we talked about here, uncovering your old programming, figuring out what truly matters to you, connecting to your inner wisdom, building those no BS boundaries. That's our 4 steps. And then there's a 5th step that we didn't talk about today, which is getting comfortable as your true self. Because there is nothing that your mind likes more than sinking into old, comfortable patterns or programs that feel good to them and slide us back into old, stuck places. So we do not want that to happen. Okay. And the best part is that once you learn how to do these 5 steps for yourself, you become a bridge builder. And as you grow, you will be able to imagine for yourself an even better and truer version of your best life. And you will have the exact tools to build your bridge by tapping into the inner wisdom and then taking those active steps towards that new destination and then getting yourself settled and comfortable there so you don't slide back into old patterns. And so if you think about it, therapy usually takes years to get these results because it's not a path, right? Each session, you're dealing with one particular thing. And my clients get transformation results in only 6 months, and they do that for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is that this is a path. You're not just addressing whatever issue is coming up in the moment, you are systematically moving towards the destination that you yourself created. And reason number 2 is the Mind BS method, which is a powerful combination of complementary cognitive and somatic learning that soothes your nervous system, which is like hugely on overdrive from running all of those programs and being disconnected from your true self. And so then you can experience that calm and that peace that starts right away which is going to help you to then implement all of the cognitive learning pieces. So I talked about mind BS here in terms of like the BS that our mind shouts at us to keep running our programs, but it also stands for mind, body, and soul, because connecting these different parts of ourselves, that's a critical skill in order to back away from burnout and settle into your best life. And I show you how to do all of this with short weekly videos, 5 to 15 minutes each, with a cognitive and somatic exercise. And it takes about another 15 minutes per week to do your homework. So that's about 30 minutes per week, or one lunch break per week, right? This is meant for busy people who don't have time. And you're transforming your life from stressed and overwhelmed to one where you feel at peace and confident in your decisions. All right, so I made 2 major announcements about this program yesterday, which I'm going to repeat in case you weren't here yesterday. So the first one is that the program is at its lowest price you are ever going to see, just for the people who attended this boot camp. And so I'm in the process of transitioning over to a very cool course hosting platform. And so I know that there's going to be some tech glitches. And I know that right now it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that I want it to have. And so you get to take advantage of that. The program is normally $444 per month for 6 months, where you are getting it half price, $222 per month, which is about the price of one therapy session per month for 6 months. So important, don't buy it from the website, because that price is only for you. So there's going to be emails coming out that have the link for that special price, because it is not available to the public. And the second announcement is that I'm giving away 1 full scholarship to the program. 1 lucky person, okay, is going to be able to transform their life for free. And it could be you. All you have to do to enter is to get on a call with me. You can find the link to book on your dashboard. I'll also put a direct link to book in the chat here for you. There we go. And so you have to book your call before the end of the day on Thursday, because on Friday, April 26th, I'm going to be doing the draw. And so I'm going to be doing it live in the Facebook group, and the winner is going to get a full scholarship and transform their life for free. And so when you join the Bridge to Your Best Life, you are getting 9 months of coaching. It's a 6-month program, but I give you 9 months to do it because I know you're super busy. And so that's 18 group coaching calls that you can attend or not attend. It's completely up to you, as well as short weekly videos that you can do whenever it's convenient for you. And the Mind BS method uses the power of neuroplasticity to systematically build up the parts of your brain, like working a muscle, that are going to make you happier. And you combine that with shedding your mind BS, and all of a sudden you are freaking crushing it. You are feeling great. You have more energy because you are not dealing with that inner conflict and stuffing down all of those feelings. You're more authentic in who you are. And that, this just happens naturally as you start connecting with your true self. And then it allows you to deepen your connections with your loved ones, create friendships that are based on authenticity, and create a connection with yourself that you have never experienced before. And all of this means you're less on edge about everything, because all of the programs that told you how you had to be and how your relationship had to be, and your kids and your house and your bank account all had to be, they're gone. And they're replaced with a knowing and a confidence and a trust in yourself, because you know who you are. You know what matters to you. And you know that you are making decisions in complete alignment with that. All right, there's one more piece that is super important. It's community. I cannot even describe the power of community. You get to be part of a community of brave warriors who are doing the same work as you, on the same journey to dig into themselves and rip off what isn't serving them anymore, so that you can all land like a cheetah in your new life. And so this is a community of people who get what you are going through and who are learning to embrace their true selves just like you. And so this creates this amazingly, I don't call it a safe space anymore. I call it a brave space, this amazingly brave space for you to open up and to be celebrated for that. And so all of this for the price of 1 therapy session a month that wouldn't even come close to helping you build your bridge. So I know we have a lot of programming about money, especially spending money on ourselves, but the work that you do here, it is going to have the hugest ripple effect on your life. Like Jackie, who I talked about on day one, she can't believe how it has changed her relationship with her kids. James's wife actually emailed me thanking me for saving her marriage and giving her her husband back. I mean, James did all the work, but sure, thank you. Steve, who is another bridge builder, said that the program took him out of a dark abyss, and he's got 2 young kids who now have a happy dad. And so in a few months, you are going to be like knee deep in summer vacation. And you can think about, how do you want your life and your family's life to change? Like, how would that change if you weren't dealing with all of this mind BS? If you could get back to who you really are and be more energized and more authentic and so much happier. I want that so badly for you. So I encourage you to book a heart to heart with me. There's no obligation. It's not a sales call. It's just a chat about where you're at and where you want to be. And if you have questions, you can get them answered there. And so it costs you nothing. And you could win this transformation for free. So this is the end of the No BS Boundary Bootcamp for the week. I hope you had fun with me this week. I hope you have learned some tools that you can implement immediately to start moving yourself closer to your true self. I also have a ton of free videos on YouTube, so I encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you just search for Mind BS on YouTube or my name, Christina Coder. You will be able to find me, and that will help you to continue on your journey and work on this beautiful self-discovery that you are doing. So thank you so much for being here. Feel free to stay on if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a lovely day.